can you tell me a little bit about what and how your transformations have played into how you help other women or both men and women transform their lives?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And again, it's, sort of just what Katie was saying before of just like, hey, I've totally been there. We've taken this journey. So being able to help others, again, that's just, we all have our unique mission, our unique, gift to bring to this world. And being able to do that, we go through our own journeys, and it's sort of, I think that you mentioned this about just like, what is the lesson learned, right? Through all of our struggles, the happiness, the joy, the hard times, like what is the lesson? And we take those lessons and then we apply them, right? We apply them to our lives. And then we start realizing like, holy crap, like this really transformed my life. I can't wait to share this with other people.
Welcome back to the Dennison Download, and I am excited because we got a full house this week of some badass women. We've got Katie Myers and Leanne Jamison. Say what's up, ladies. How are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
So, Leanne and Katie are the co-hosts for a really cool and amazing podcast called Sit Crooked Talk Straight. And I, not to brag, was a guest just a couple of weeks ago. So if you want to check that out, definitely check that out. But these two ladies are some badass coaches. They come from some psychotherapy backgrounds. It's really, really cool. So we have Leanne with essentially Zenful and her coaching, which is really, really exciting. And I can't wait to dive in more. And we have Katie with Release with Katie. And we'll have all of their information in the show notes. But let's start with Leanne. Leanne, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do.
Oh my goodness. So multi-layered there, right?
Just an onion, just like
she's so complex.
I'm an onion. Layers.
So many layers. So I am, like you were saying, I have been a psychotherapist, licensed psychotherapist for 16 years now. And coaching, I'm a women's empowerment expert. So I coach women and also speak on leadership and women's empowerment globally, locally, all over. And yeah, that's what my programs are all about too, is just empowering women, letting them see, what their authentic self is, reconnecting them with that, reconnecting them with their passions, and really aligning them with that next level life purpose. I also have a From Corporate to Coach program, and that's just, that's one aspect of me. I am the mother of twin boys that are 9, a 15-year-old daughter, married for 18 years, and recently moved back to Buffalo, New York for some reason. Now, my family.
I miss feeling my fingertips.
I know, right? I miss the blizzards. I miss
shoveling,
right?
Just being
all the
very
fun,
cold.
being cold for 9 months out of the year.
It looked apocalyptic last week.
It was.
Gosh.
And yeah, we had another storm in like November, but yeah, so yeah, we're back here now after being gone for 20 years, and just love, living, honestly, truly, even though with all the snow and all that stuff, truly living my best life. And I can say that with like full, just like, what do I want to say? Like, I don't even know the word of it. Just completely, that's authentic to me. And never thought I would be in this place, even 6 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, even. Shoot.
Wow. I can't wait to dive more into that in a little bit, but I want to get to Katie. Katie, tell me, very exciting layers. I can't wait to strip some of those layers, Leanne. But Katie, tell me a little bit about what you do and your coaching practice, and maybe a little bit about the weather where you are too.
Thank you. So it's an honor to be here with you guys. Thank you so much for having us. I am a licensed clinical social worker, and I've taken my therapy practice and really am morphing it into more of a coaching practice. And it's a hybrid. And so I love being able to meet both men and women, but my jam is really working with women. But I do also do some couples therapy, couples coaching, and some family work. So I have a nice diverse caseload right now. But it's been a dream of mine, and it came to fruition over 2022. I am not just Leanne's friend, but I'm also a former member of her coaching program. And that was pivotal for me to go through that. And we talk about layers, like shedding some of the layers of self-doubt and limiting beliefs, and then coming into this mind-blowing existence where I also get to help others do the exact same work. And what's cool is that I get to say, oh my gosh, like you're freaking out right now, and I totally get it, like 1000% get it, and I've been there. And then we work through how to move past it and what it looks like on the other side, and making sure they know that they're not going to die or catch fire, because that's the worst case scenario in my world, is that I'm going to die or catch fire. And so as long as those two things don't happen, I'm winning. So right, like there's just so much joy and peace in the what. I didn't know the how. I didn't know how I was going to get there. Leanne really helped me with that. But now I get to see other people's journeys from a different perspective. They come up with the how or the what, and I get to be a part of some of the how. I mean, and it's a very spiritual journey that we lean into at all times. But yeah, so that's what I do. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I do therapy for those who are in the state of Georgia, coaching for those all over the country and world. And I live my dream today.
So I am sensing a common theme here with both of you, is that you guys, or you ladies, are both living your dream. And from what Leanne said, this wasn't even on the radar, or even maybe it was on the radar, but you didn't feel like you would be this excited or passionate or living the dream, right? And I think, Jack, I won't speak for you, but he and I look at each other and we're like, oh my God, we get to do this. What? This is, and don't get me wrong, there's some tough times, running a business, being an entrepreneur, it's a 24/7 job. It's got ups and downs, but man, transforming people's lives and watching them, go out and do their dreams or change their lives or whatever, right, is life-giving. And we were just talking to another guest who said, I learn more sometimes from the coaching experience as a coach than sometimes they do, because it's so life-giving. I would love to hear from each of you. How did we get here, right? What was it like? There's a lot of people who might be listening to this podcast is like, oh great, I'll never be living my dreams. Like I'll never get there. I used to be that way.
Same.
And I looked at people who are, like us, living our dreams now and be like, yeah, right. That's for someone else. That's not for me. I'm always going to be at the grind, or I'm always going to be sad. Must be nice.
It must be nice is always the mantra that I had in my head. It must be nice. And now I'm like, it is. It is
nice. It's real nice.
I encourage all of you to join us over here.
What's the first step, or what was the pivotal transformation? What was the change? What was that moment?
Okay, you want to go first? Yeah. We talk about this a lot, Katie and I, just about like motivation versus inspiration and how we need both. And I guess I'll start at my motivation. It happened with Katie years ago when we started our first business together, Journey to Rejuvenation. And it was 2017. And that started, right, some of that motivation. And then we both, we explored it. We explored entrepreneurship. We loved it. And then we both went our own ways. We got scared shitless. We're like, this isn't going to work. Yeah. We're not going to be able to do this. What are we thinking? This is, and the immediate gratification wasn't there. Go figure. People weren't just flocking to us. Like, what?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I know. But so that was truly right. I can go back further, but that was one of the most pivotal moments leading up to the next one, which is when my dad passed away in 2019. And he was 57 That's so young. It was all of a sudden, right? It was just out of nowhere. And 40 days in the ICU and passed away. And those things will create, for me anyways, it created this like reflection of my life, because I know how creative he was, and like I always think about how many lives he left unlived, because he had so many dreams and so many aspirations and things. And they never came to fruition for multiple reasons, but just looking at that, and that was the motivation, right? That was the fire under my ass that like really was just like, what the fuck am I, can we swear here?
Yes, please. I encourage it.
Because it's like, I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
I'm miserable. Like, again, I was helping people. I was an executive at a treatment facility. So I was helping people still, but I knew there was something missing, always knew there was something missing. And when that happened, it had me reflecting. And within a few months, I had started my business then and found my business coach. She's a holistic business coach, adore her, and still with her to this day. But that is what really kept me, like, inspired me. I started like allowing myself to dream again and just be like, this is possible. And having that coach helped me to see what was possible and to sort of bring it down to fruition, like step by step. But yeah, it was, I mean, and there's so many moments in between there, but when you think about that, that motivating factor of just like, what am I doing? And this can't be it, right? Looking around and being like, oh, I guess this is it. Like, I am 40 years old. Like, what the heck? No, this is not it. This does not have to be it. And yeah, just sort of took off from there and knew, what I wanted to do, who I wanted to help, my mission to really empower women. Which is funny because when I first started out in counseling, I'm like, I don't want to work with women. They're too difficult. I had a lot of learning and growing to do about myself. I was very young. And now I get to, coach women from all over the world. I have reached international in my program and have spoken globally. And I mean, like, I literally look around. I'm like, holy shit, this is what I'm doing.
Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. So the transformation for you it was almost like there was a catalyst that happened. It was events that happened out of your control that made you step back and say, WTF, like, what the fuck am I doing anymore? My life things are going to happen out of my control. And so I want to take control and be empowered in my life and what I'm doing and who I'm helping.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, just keeping that inspiration of like, why, right? Tapping into your why. Why is this important to me? And having the support around me too. I mean, there's, again, so many different areas to like keep it going and continue to grow and expand. And there are bumps in the road. And I think Katie and I talked about this on our podcast the other day, is like when shit's hitting the fan, right? Shit hits the fan, like shit is flying. And we're just like, we're still moving forward. Like, breakthrough. Woo! All right.
I'm so glad you brought that up too, because, I'll be completely honest, Jack and I, at the time of this recording, the last couple months, shit has been hitting the fan. And, you have those moments when shit hits the fan. I know, where you look around and you're like, do we pack it in? Like, why are we doing this? Like, what's happening when the chips are really down? And you kind of look at your partner, you look at your spouse, or you look at whoever, and you're like, man, why are we doing this? And then for us, what's really great is that the universe just always sends us something, right? Sends us a sign. I get a random message on LinkedIn, an email, a past client that says, hey, I just want to let you know I was thinking about you and you're the reason I got this job or whatever. And I'm like, okay, all right, that's my why. This is it. Okay, I can't quit. Like, we will figure it out. And it's really, I'm so glad you brought that up about the inspiration and motivation. We had another guest on that said that there's a difference between that too. And motivation comes, but it comes in bursts and then it fades. But your inspiration is the lasting power that just keeps you going. And I'm like, yeah. Yes. So I love that you brought that up too, because it's so true. It's so true. Yep. Katie, what's your inspiration? What was the moment for you? What was your transformation moment? Or
my story has mental health and mental illness woven into it pretty substantially. I over the years, when I'm not where I'm supposed to be, when I'm not in alignment, I use the analogy of being a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. And anytime that I am letting go of parts of myself or shaving parts of myself off to fit, or letting go of things that are important to me in order to fit some mold, I get depressed, and it can get pretty dark pretty fast. And so I had a pretty serious bout of depression. It was just a little over a year ago, and I went to treatment. I went to intensive outpatient mental health treatment for my depression, and took time off of work. And like Leanne shared, there were many, many points, many different junctures and crossroads and forks in the road. I can't think of any more analogies to come up with roads, but I think I hit them all. But I hit these points, and it's time for me to make a decision. And I'm one that has to learn the hard way. I won't necessarily, it's not generally my jam to like have a thought of like, hey, it would be great if you did this thing that would make you really happy. I have to wait until I'm in whatever misery and sadness and whatever before I'm like, oh, I should really stop doing this and do that other thing. And so I had to hit a rock bottom with my depression. And that was at the end of 21. And I was in Leanne's coaching program, which is really another part that was pivotal, because we say on our podcast, like, you can do things faster alone, but you go further when you have others. And her program was such a pivotal piece of my growth and my journey for that year. And the women who were a part of that, I could not have done any of what I have accomplished to this point in my life had I not had my tribe, had I not had this group of women, and our fearless leader in Leanne, guiding us along the way and reminding us of our truths and bringing us back to our North Star and our spiritual gifts. And so mine, I'll stay stuck somewhere for pretty damn long before I'll make a shift. And then my story is in getting help with my depression and just anxiety as well. When I am living in my truth, when I am living in full alignment, I don't experience the depression and the anxiety. It's crazy how it works, y'all. when we're doing the things that we're called to do, when we're living in our truth. Not to say that 100% of depression or anxiety comes from not living in alignment, but for me and my story, a big fucking chunk of it comes from not living in alignment. And so I also take medication. So there's my plug for take your meds. Folks. There's no shame. There's no shame in doing whatever it is that you need to do to be okay. But my truth was definitely that the highs were high and the lows were real low.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change a thing.
I am so thankful that you shared, and thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing your story. It really resonates with mine. I have very high highs and very low lows, and I suffer from depression. And what I have found in my depression is that I lean out from my support system, and I go internal, and I try and do it alone, because it's hard to ask for help. It's hard to show that dark spot part of myself. It's scary. Very vulnerable. And this most recent round of depression for me actually was just a couple months ago, and the lesson that I learned in that one was to lean into my support system. And I just really thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'll also throw out, I have therapy today. So for those of you who might be watching this and you can see me, Leanne and I don't record we're starting to, but we don't put out the video of us, just the audio. And so I purposely didn't wear any eye makeup today because I knew I was going to be in therapy this morning.
You look gorgeous. Are you kidding me?
I know.
Oh God.
I know.
You look stunning.
So I feel compelled to be like, I'm not in my fullness because I needed to be able to show up in my fullness in my therapy this morning. And in order to that, I have to not have any eye makeup on because I cry. That's one of my releases, is just crying it out and getting all the emotion, all the stuck energy. And this is a lot of the work, like Leanne talks about, like there's energy that's in us that gets stuck. And whether we do breath work or we do chakra clearing or we do meditation or we cry it out, moving that energy through us. And so, yeah, I'm an open book when it comes to my mental health journey, because I know that there are so many men and women who suffer in silence, and they are plagued by the shame of the stigma of mental illness, depression, anxiety, overwhelming fears, that they will just suffer in silence. And so I made a commitment to myself years ago that I would share openly and honestly about my journey, so that others would hopefully feel safe in doing the same, or at least asking for help, because there's no shame in asking for help.
Absolutely. Me too. Me too. And I'm just really grateful that there are people like you who share your story, because there is no shame. And this is another plug for medication, therapy, leaning into your support system and asking for help.
Amen.
Yes.
Absolutely. For both of you who've been through massive transformations, whether from an outside catalyst or an internal catalyst, in order to make big changes in your life, to now be living your dreams, which is so exciting. What I love about both of you is that it resonates with me, and I know for Jack too, is that your dreams are helping to serve other people and watching transformations happen in their lives. What does that look like? Either one of you, and what's really passionate for me is women empowerment, because we help both men and women, but I love helping women. It's just it's just so good. It's so good, because there's just I get so passionate. There's just so many women out there who, whether from society or, family or whatever, are told over and over, or their own self-limiting beliefs, that they're not worth whatever. And I know that you two are making it your mission to reverse engineer that. And it's exciting. So can you tell me a little bit about what and how your transformations have played into how you help other women, or both men and women, transform their lives?
Yeah. And again, it's, sort of just what Katie was saying before, of just like, hey, I've totally been there. We've taken this journey. So being able to help others, again, that's just, we all have our unique mission, our unique, gift to bring to this world. And being able to do that, we go through our own journeys, and it's sort of, I think that you mentioned this about just like, what is the lesson learned, right? Through all of our struggles, the happiness, the joy, the hard times, like, what is the lesson? And we take those lessons and then we apply them, right? We apply them to our lives. And then we start realizing like, holy crap, like this really transformed my life. I can't wait to share this with other people. So for me, it was, and Katie said this too, it's just like shedding the layers of all of these different limiting beliefs. First of all, shining a light on them, like spotlight. This is a limiting belief, because we don't even realize it. I would say men and women have these,
Jack's like, yes.
Jack's like, yes, please. Right? We all have these societal pressures too, and rules that we have followed for like 200 years that we haven't challenged. Like, no, this is not happening anymore. I think we all need to challenge these belief systems of what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, as far as like, especially, and I'll just speak to women, because I do only work with women now, of just what we've been told is possible, not possible, why we can't take risks, and challenging that, why we're not supposed to follow our dreams, and challenging that. So it's really picking apart all of, like, again, shining that light, picking apart, however you want to put it, pulling back the onions, however you want to, whatever you want to use, as far as just like really challenging all of the rules that we have been living that have kept us small, that have kept us from living in our fullest alignment of what we're meant to. And we all have that right within us. So my work is a lot of journey back inward, of really listening to yourself, tapping into that intuition, knowing that you have this purpose, finding that purpose and aligning with it, aligning with higher levels of joy too, where we're taught, I mean, I know in my story, I've been taught so many different things of martyr, victim, like the harder you work, the more valuable you are. Like, if you're not exhausted by the end of the day, then you didn't do enough, or whatever it may be, where it's just, we have a cap on our joy then. Like, we don't allow ourselves to feel joy. We don't, so it's, busting past all of those limiting beliefs, allowing yourself to really elevate to those higher emotions of joy and peace, and allowing yourself to be there, like stripping away from your addictions of worry, of, self-soothing through all sorts. It's not, I always say, it's like, it's not, are you addicted? It's like, what are you addicted to? Because we're all addicted to something.
We're all addicted to something. I mean, it could be so benign, but we are all addicted with social media and all this other stuff. It's so interesting. What was I going to say? It's so interesting. Oh, never mind. Forget that. I had something and I completely blanked out what it was. We'll come back to it.
It'll come back. But so it's really just that, my thing is a journey to authentic living, right?
Yeah.
It's living your most authentic self, finding your life purpose, aligning with that, whatever that may be. And just living life completely out loud with no, as my husband always says, no regrets, not even one, not even one. So
I remembered what I was going to say. It was those self-limiting beliefs, or any of our belief systems, right? What kind of shocked me this year, because I started examining a couple of belief systems or beliefs that I had that weren't serving me anymore. What shocked me is that one belief system, right, wasn't serving me for years. And I just now started examining it. And I find in my own life that now I'm almost eager to start, examining some of those beliefs, because I'm finding it. And there are so many things that we believe that we spend our lives holding on to that no longer serve us. And we don't tend to, even myself, who I find is a self-aware person, never examine.
Yes.
And I think it's a huge gift that we give ourselves to look at, hey, I'm operating under this assumption or this belief or this thing that someone told me at some point in my life. Like, for instance, I'm only successful when I'm working 12-hour days. I'm only worthy if I'm achieving this. I'm only blah, 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 blah. But we typically don't give ourselves that time to actually sit back and allow ourselves to examine those things.
Right.
And then we hold on to them, or change our entire lives or operating systems or whatever around these things that don't even serve us, or were given to us by someone else, right?
Yes.
And what I love about the work that both of you do is that you allow people to go inward, to journey inward, like you say, or just kind of bring up some of the stuff that you're operating on and just take a look. Hey, is this really what you want? Is this still you? Is this still authentic to who you want to be?
Right.
Because I thought as I was transforming, I was letting those things go, but I was transforming, but still holding on to some of that. And it was wild to me. It was wild. So I really like that. And for anyone who's listening, if you haven't done that, start thinking about some of those things that you operate under, and if that's really something that you even really operate under or is authentic to you.
Right.
More,
was it something given to you? Was it something passed down through generations? Right. And just being able to approach it with a lot of curiosity. And that is where it's like curiosity and compassion. That is where I go to. Because we can be, when we start getting, when we start shining a light on this, we often can become defensive or just like shaming ourselves. And like, we're just going to continue that cycle if we do that. Right. So it's just like, that's interesting. Do I really want to keep that? I don't know if this is serving me. Right. And just releasing it in so many different ways, right? It's cognitively, it's through our body too, right? There's so many different ways that we release it. Energetically, and seeing people rise, like to what you were saying, it's just like, what does that look like as far as a transformation? It's just like tears sometimes of joy. And this is like from the entire group. I'm crying with them. I'm just like, yes, like we have made it. And just like this complete envelopment of just like seeing themselves for who they are, complete acceptance, self-love, and then following through with their dreams. Like, 20-year-old dreams of just like, oh, I forgot that that was there. And I didn't think it was possible for me anymore. And seeing that, like, I'm getting goosebumps already. Just seeing everybody in the joy. And again, it doesn't mean that life is just like, whoa, just like, jumping on clouds and shooting through rainbows or anything like that. Right. It's still life, but we're better able to cope with it, to deal with it. The emotional intelligence that's connected to really fully aligning with ourselves is so amazing. So just dealing with that, ability to deal with conflict, the ability to deal with shit hitting the fan, or, things like that, just becomes easier. There's something that I look at it as just like, we have this huge fear that things are going to be harder when we like follow our dreams, when we align with that. But it's like when we finally allow ourselves to do that, everything else is a little bit more simple. It just, the small stuff becomes more simple. It just does. So yeah, just watching everybody light up in those moments, and moment after moment after moment, just continuing to light up, is what really continues to inspire me and again, I, just like you were saying, it's just like through every, and I know Katie can attest to this too. It's just like every up level, we're always, up leveling, transform, hopefully, right? It's
God
like,
willing.
right. It's just self-growth, right? That's a continuous thing if you allow it to be, and it's beautiful. But with every up level, there's more beliefs that just seem to come back up, and you're like, oh, hello there.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you were still sticking around.
This is hilarious because Kara and I were talking about this exact thing this past week. And I love all the things that you mentioned so far, Leanne. It's all about your tools, right? And as we up level, we never lose our tools, but it's almost like the repeat of that pattern causes us to forget all the tools we acquired. And the challenge is, hey, it's the same test you took before, but do you know what tool to go use to solve this problem? And sometimes it's multiple tools as opposed to before, maybe it was just one. And now you've got to use 3 or 4 in combination to be able to get to where you want to go.
Yes.
Like life doesn't get easier. It's still hard, but you're better equipped.
Yeah.
You've got a better toolbox, and it's amazing. I love that.
So cool.
Yeah. Katie, tell me a little bit about some of the tools, since we're talking about tools, some of the tools that you have used with your clients to help them transform, and the amazing year that you've had kind of growing your coaching business.
Yeah. So I like to tap into I take a lot of what I learned in Leanne's program, and morph it, individualize it to whatever's going on with a particular client or situation. But I consistently lean back into some of those core principles that we've been talking about, which is the asking for help, leaning into your community, leaning into your tribe, asking for support, and being able to receive it, and having that vulnerability, the willingness to pivot, to realize that my journey, I'll be 40 next month, depending on when this airs. My birthday is January 26th. I'll be 40 years old. I am ecstatic about this part of my journey, but there have been times within the last even decade where I have said, oh my gosh, what have I done with my life? I can't possibly start over now. There's no possible way. I told Leanne at one point before I quit my corporate job, what will I possibly do to make this amount of money but work less? Like, there's no way I can do something that will achieve that. And she was like, you're right. You're going to make more money. And is that like, and I share that story all the time because I'm just like, at first I was like rolling my eyes and grinding my teeth and just like, right? Because I couldn't see what was on the other side, which was what's so powerful about us walking these walks and having our stories and our journeys to lean back into, is that I knew that she knew on this other level because she'd been through it, and it helped give me the belief and the faith, and the courage. As we talk about courageous action all the time, at least I know Leanne does in program, but with my clients, it's courageous action that is going to feel foreign and different. but I love the analogy of choosing our discomfort, because everything has a level of discomfort.
Yeah.
Staying the same and having regrets, never moving forward, settling, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Moving forward, challenging the status quo, healing generational wounds, getting outside of that that box that somebody else has put you in, that's uncomfortable too. But guess what? You get to choose. And like I'll actually do this in session, like hold up my hands, and I'm like, you choose, right?
Yeah.
Like tell me what you want, and then that's the direction that we'll go, and we'll support you in that. And that's it. They never choose the discomfort of staying stuck, but there's a lot that has to be worked through. And I wanted to piggyback a little bit, Leanne, on what you were saying about kind of breaking those patterns and like the work that you do around generational wounding and trauma. So often the framework that we operate out of comes from really well-meaning people who don't know any different, and you don't know what you don't know, and you can't know what you don't know, and but when you know, then you do better. When you know better, you do better. And so there's a real element, because I also do Reiki healing, energy healing in my sessions, where we will envision the lineage, mother, grandmother, great grandmothers, all the women that have come before us. And Leanne taught me this too, that I have operated out of the mind space of really frustrated and hurt by the generational traumas, and wishing and wanting for somebody before me to have stepped in to break the cycle and to have done something different and heal. But I can't only look at the generational patterns with this anger or this frustration. It also like, there's so many gifts that came from it. And 99, I mean, I can't know all the stories, but I choose to believe that 99% of what has been handed down generation upon generation was done for survival, done out of necessity. It was done because nobody knew any different or any better. And so we, living in the times that we're living in, I feel like there's just access to so much information, and there's opportunity to go inward and do the self-exploration and challenge those beliefs, that it's like, I can't not do this work. I can't know what I know and not do my own internal work, which then fuels the fire when I see other, mostly women specifically, but I do work with men. But when they come to the table and they're ready or they're willing, sometimes they don't know that they're ready, but they at least show like a glimpse of willingness. I pounce. And I'm like, all right, we're going there. We're doing it. We're digging in, and we're gonna do whatever that work requires, because we will repeat. We will repeat history if we don't learn from it, if we don't understand it and make a decision. And that's where the courageous action comes in. We can say like, oh yeah, that happened and that sucked, but what are we willing to do differently? And so I really operate so much out of not just cheerleader, but I'm a really great cheerleader. And I never made the cheer squad when I was in school. It was devastating. I can't, like,
That's
I look
a
back,
shame.
one of my biggest like misses in life. Kidding, not kidding. I'm a natural cheerleader for my clients, and sometimes that's all they need is a little bit of faith and space to know that there's something on the other side, because they don't know yet. They don't know what they don't know. But man, once they know better and they get a chance to do better, the whole universe just explodes with opportunity and potential. And Leanne was right. I make more money now today than I've ever made in my life. I work less than I've ever worked in my life. I actually had the best 2 months back to back, ending 22, and I'm now starting to say no to things, which feels incredible. And
feels so good.
And it's been a full year. I gave my resignation in January of 22, and so this I'm very reflective right now of all the changes. And so, and I'm a hometown Anderson, Indiana, small town girl who grew up with a farm down the road. I didn't grow up on a farm, so I can't relate to all this. But there were farms down the road, and it was a small town, and I never thought in a million years that I would be able to do what I'm doing or achieve what I have achieved. And so if I can do it, so can fucking you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Ben.
Where you come from or what you're doing or what the beliefs are, frankly, I don't give a shit. Like, let's talk about what's real. And what's real is there's potential and there's opportunity that is untapped in every single one of us.
Yeah.
And if we don't take the opportunity, shame on us. We take the opportunity and fall flat on our face, even better, because that's where we learn and we grow. And Leanne will always say it's the breakdown before the breakthrough.
Yes.
And I believe that. Like, they're energetically, like, things have to come undone in order for us to figure out how we want to put it back together. And there's beauty in that. And so, that's my like call to action. I don't care where you are. I don't care what your circumstances are. Frankly, I don't give a shit, any of it. I believe that you can do something different no matter what. Whatever the limitations are, they are not big enough to keep you from doing and living the life that you truly are meant to live.
Yes.
Ooh, Katie is spitting fire. Mic drop for sure. I have full body goosebumps, Katie. That was amazing. Couple of key takeaways from that. If you are ready for a change, if you're ready for something and you don't believe in yourself, find someone who does, because Leanne knew before Katie did. And if Katie didn't believe enough, Leanne did. And here she is living proof that Leanne knew a year ago, and it's happening, right? The other thing about the generational curses and the trauma and all that other stuff is, as you were talking, I just felt that I wanted to say, I feel like this generation, like the generations that are here now, are being called to do that work, because no one before us had access to what we have now. And I went through the same journey that you did. Is I started working through the generational trauma and stuff like that. And I'm like, why the hell am I doing this? Like, excuse me. And then all of a sudden I opened up to a lot of compassion for and empathy for the women before me. And I started seeing my grandmother and everything in a whole new light. And you're right. They're operating out of a different knowledge set than we had, and a different era than we had, and out of trauma and a lot of different things. And everything that you said was absolutely on point. And just like I said, spit and fire, like mic drop. My God, I got to go back and listen to this. That was amazing. That was amazing. I loved it. Go ahead.
Sorry. For any gentlemen listening to today, please rewind and go back and listen to Katie, because what she just said there was actually something Kara said to me early last year, which is what got me into therapy.
Wow.
And it has made, over the last, I'd say 10 months, the biggest change in my personal growth and my personal happiness, being able to start to heal some of the patterns that I didn't know were there.
Right.
I knew certain things were there, but it wasn't the ones that were causing me the biggest problems. It was the ones that I didn't know. And I never had anybody sit me down and tell me that it was possible and create that environment for me to be vulnerable, to start being curious. So I love both of your points today, talking about being curious, finding somebody who will open up that space, give you that feeling that they believe in you, and then dive right in. Let's do it.
Yes.
Awesome.
To Jack's point, what I love about that is this whole episode is magnificent for both men and women. Mental health is still to this day has a huge stigma, and for men especially, right? And I believe very strongly that shame dies when it gets brought to the light. And we talked a lot about bringing things to the light, right? Going inward, that inner journey, and re-looking at limiting beliefs, leaning into your team, into your, and when I say team, your support system, right? Your family, your friends, when things get dark. And it's becoming a little bit less shameful for women, but still for men, it is extremely important for all people, whether you identify as a man or a woman or neither, to talk to people, to be vulnerable, and to ask for help, and to be curious with your own inner journey, for sure. Big takeaways.
Because you matter.
And you deserve it, and you're worth it.
Yes.
We all do.
Exactly. And I think that you guys, maybe this is a question for you. Have you seen the ripple effect of working on yourself? The ripple effect of,
Absolutely.
when we start from the inside out, right? And how it impacts our relationships, and then how those relationships impact other people. And it just keeps on going and going.
Yeah.
And
Look at
that's
us being in the
beautiful.
hot suites. Yeah. I mean, the more that we work on ourselves, the more we feel that the transformations in our clients, the people we surround ourselves with, our friends, our family, it becomes even more transformative. It's life-giving. It really is. I just want to keep going. I want to be the best version of myself, whatever that is today. And
Truth
it's
is,
exciting.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry to cut you off.
No,
This
please.
podcast would not exist had I not gone to therapy.
Wow.
I had big hangups on showing up in social media for my entire relationship with Kara. She's always been social media, and I have been, don't want to post anything, don't want people to see and know what I'm doing. And I had a big problem with showing up authentically in public.
Yeah.
And I don't know if other people have this, but for me, being able to talk about it and being able to really face a lot of the fears that I had and what was underneath all of that. And what I found was it was just things that happened in my past lives, things that I didn't even think about from my childhood, things that my parents had nothing to do with, but I needed to still work through in order to show up authentically and not necessarily feel like a fraud or feel like somebody was going to judge me for saying something. And now, honestly, I don't care, because the truth is, it changed a lot of the relationships that I have with others. And I'm still working through those things, and because I'm still a work in progress. But the fact is now I know how to bridge the gap with those people in my life. Now I understand where to meet them and how to communicate with them so that I could have a relationship with them moving forward. And
But you've also worked on the relationship with yourself too.
that had to come first. I couldn't do any of this other stuff without that first, because I didn't love who I was. And I didn't even understand that. I didn't even understand that there was something beneath the skin suit, right? That matters more than that. And it wasn't until I started really embracing all of that ugliness, I guess you would say, and loving that unconditionally, that I was able to start showing up authentically in life.
Oh, so beautiful. Jack, I'm so happy. Yeah. And when you think about the gift that both of you have given to everybody, just in the work that you do and showing up, like if this podcast didn't happen, right? People out there would still be suffering, right? And hearing all of you guys gives people hope for something different. And they say it's just like we each of us, I can say, stopped living on autopilot.
Absolutely.
Right. And we started living on purpose. We started living intentionally. And what a gift to ourselves and to everybody that's listening, everybody in your lives. So thank you both for doing the work and being here.
Thank you both for being here. I know we're coming up on time, so I want to make sure that everyone knows exactly where to find you. First of all, Leanne and Katie are, like I said before, co-hosts of a fantastic podcast, Sit Crooked, Talk Straight. Fantastic. They interview badass women. They talk about some really incredible stuff. You have to listen. So check it out on everywhere that you get podcasts. But I will let you guys share where you can find yourselves. So Leanne, your website is easyliving.space. Where else can people find you?
Yeah. So essentially Zenful is where you can find me all over Facebook. That is, two words, essentially Zenful. And that's on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. That's my Instagram. Gosh, that is also, what else is that? My TikTok. I think I have to double check. And then on LinkedIn, it's Leanne Jamison. So those are all the places. And Easy Living is the letter E, the letter Z, and then living. All one word, that space. So that is where you can find me.
Okay, good. And Katie is releasewithkatie.com. You can check out her website. Where else can we find you, Katie?
Yeah, on Facebook, Katie Myers. And I do have a Healing Happens Here Facebook group, which is not super active. If you're looking for an active group, join Leanne's Next Level Life Purpose group.
It's always plugging me. Always, Vila.
Always plugging you, because I owe so much of my everything to you. But no, Katie Myers on Facebook. I'll befriend you. I am Katie Myers on Instagram, and then release with Katie at gmail.com if you want to email me. And that's release like letting go with Katie, spelled Katie at gmail.com.
Okay.
So yeah, happy to connect with anybody.
Perfect. We'll put that all in the show notes, so make sure to follow them. If either of you had one piece of advice to send us all off with, what would that be?
Oh my goodness. One piece of advice.
Put you on the hot seat.
Be bold.
Be bold. That's a good
Be
one.
bold.
Be bold. That's how you make mistakes, and that's how you learn, and that's how you grow. I love it.
So many things. It's like fail forward, live out loud, be yourself. Don't, all of that. Today is the day that you can follow your dreams. It's you're not guaranteed tomorrow, right? And just believe in yourself. And again, like Jack was saying, if you don't believe in yourself, find somebody that does, and they're out there for you. So many pieces, but thank you. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you ladies both for being here. This was an amazing episode. For us on the Dennison Download, follow us on Instagram at the Dennison Download, on Facebook, the Dennison Download podcast. And from our family to yours, have an excellent week.